Today, we are talking about something huge, the architecture of your memory. We're going to lay out a new blueprint for how you learn, and maybe more importantly, how you actually remember. I'll show you exactly how to defeat one of memory's biggest enemies, forgetting.
So let's start with the question I'm pretty sure we've all lived through. You spend the entire night studying, right? You walk into the exam, you feel pretty good, you maybe even ace it, but then, a week later, it's poof. It's like the information was never even there. Sound familiar? Well, here's the thing. What if I told you that whole experience has nothing to do with being lazy or having a bad memory? It's just a total misunderstanding of how our brains are wired to work. Seriously, it's not a personal failure. It's a strategic one.
Okay, to really get this, we need to look at this idea that's at the heart of the whole problem. It's called the forgetting curve, and it's this universal, totally predictable path our brain takes toward, well, forgetting things.
So this whole thing started with this pretty wild self-experiment way back in the late 1800s. There was this psychologist, Hermann Ebbinghaus, and he wanted to study memory in its purest form, without any emotions or things we already know getting in the way. So what did he do? He memorized thousands of totally random, meaningless syllables, things like Bach and yet, and then he just tracked super carefully how long he could remember them.
And what he found out is what you see right here, the forgetting curve. And honestly, the shocking part is just how fast it all disappears. Look at this chart. In just 24 hours, one day, without any kind of review, we can lose up to 70% of new stuff we learn. After a week, it's pretty much all gone. It is a steep, steep drop.
So here's the big takeaway. Forgetting isn't some random glitch in your brain. It's a biological process. It's predictable. And you know what? Because it's predictable, we can actually learn to work with it instead of constantly fighting against it.
So why? Why does our brain do this? Why is it actually designed to forget so well? Well, the answer isn't in what happens when we study. It's in what happens after, especially when we're not studying at all.
The whole secret is this process called neural consolidation. The best way to think about it is like your brain's own personal librarian who works the night shift. While you're in a deep sleep, your brain is busy replaying the day's lessons, strengthening the important connections and moving memories from this temporary little holding area to a permanent, long-term storage facility.
And this just lays it all out so clearly. When you get that good deep sleep, your brain gets to work building and strengthening those memory pathways. But when you pull an all-nighter to cram for a test, you are literally skipping that entire critical step. The connections stay weak, stress gets in the way, and that information becomes almost impossible to find later. You're basically trying to write on water.
And this really leads us to this powerful idea. If you want to build a strong, lasting memory, you can't just fire the architect. Sleep is not the enemy of studying, it's an absolutely essential part of it.
All right, so we get the problem now, right? We see the biology behind it. So let's get to the good part, the solution. And it's a super simple, totally actionable strategy based on everything we just talked about.
Meet the 1-3-7-30 plan. The real magic here isn't about how much time you spend studying, it's all about the timing of your reviews. Every single one of these reviews is placed at the exact right moment to stop that forgetting curve, right as your memory is about to take a nosedive. It basically forces your brain to go, oh, wait, this is important, and strengthen that connection.
Now, these first two reviews are absolutely key to stopping that initial super steep drop. Within 24 hours, you need to spend about 15 minutes on active recall. That means, closing the book and just writing down everything you remember. This forces your brain to retrieve it, which is kind of like doing a rep at the gym for your memory. Then on day 3, do a quick 10-minute review. A fantastic technique here is to try and teach the concept out loud to someone, or even just to your wall. It forces your brain to organize the info logically.
Then, when you get to the reviews on day 7 and day 30, the whole game changes. The focus shifts from just remembering stuff to actually applying it. The day 7 review is all about locking that info into long-term storage. And that final review around day 30, that's about mastery. That's when you start solving tough problems with it, connecting it to other things you know, and really making that knowledge a permanent part of who you are.
So why does the spacing work so darn well? Well, like we said, every time you review, you stop the forgetting curve cold. And that sends this powerful signal to your brain, hey, this is important, save it. Each time you do that, the memory gets rebuilt, but stronger than before. You're physically strengthening the neural pathways. This whole process turns that shaky, short-term info into deep, rock-solid knowledge you can actually use.
And this whole strategy isn't just for students cramming for finals. It represents a huge shift in how all of us should think about learning, whether you're a student, a parent, a teacher, anyone.
We really need to change the whole culture around studying. Instead of celebrating the person who pulls the all-nighter, we should be encouraging planned, structured revision. And instead of looking at sleep as something you sacrifice to get more study time, we have to see it for what it truly is, a totally non-negotiable part of the learning process itself.
And that really is the heart of it all. Working hard is great, it's important. But working smart, that's what leads to real, lasting knowledge. True education happens when we finally start to align our effort with how our brains are actually built to learn in the first place.
So the final question really just comes back to you. Now that you have the blueprint, now that you know the rules of how your own brain works, how are you going to choose to architect your memory?